everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be the untold truths of working as a CNA. So I thought this video would be kind of fun. There is definitely a lot of things that working as a CNA comes along with. I'm gonna try to do a good and then a bad and then a good and then a bad, so you guys do see that not everything's bad about working as a CNA. So first I want to clarify that a CNA is a certified nursing assistant. Typically, certified nursing assistants work in nursing homes or convalescent homes. They can also work in hospitals. Typically, when a CNA works in a hospital, they are called a PCT or a PCA, but all you really need to be a PCA is your CNA certification. So to become a CNA, it is only a certification. It's typically a 2-month class, so about an 8 to 12 week class, or if you go to a technical high school, you can get it your junior year. I don't know how all technical high schools are or how all trade high schools are, but I do know that in mine, we got ours our junior year of high school. First, I want to start out with something good. So the first thing is being able to help people that cannot help themselves, or being able to help people that their families can't help them. So a lot of times you have people who have Alzheimer's, dementia, they can't walk, they had a stroke. There's lots of different things that we deal with as CNAs. Some of them have different diseases, some of them have different conditions, and we see all of that. It's just really nice, I guess you could say, to know as a CNA that you are helping somebody that can't help themselves. The first bad thing that I have on the list, and I'm gonna kind of combine these two because they don't really go hand in hand, but kind of, they both suck. So the first bad thing is poop. We deal with a lot of poop. You wipe a lot of butts. It's never fun, especially when it's diarrhea or they just don't stop going. Those days are never fun, especially when they got medication that helps them poop the day before and then they're starting to really go today. And throw up. So actually, the last day that I worked as a CNA, I got projectile vomited at. I had just put somebody on the toilet and she threw up her dinner all over. And it was like a last minute, oh crap, I need to jump out of the way. She projectile vomited, and I can't honestly remember if she got some on me or not, but there's a lot of poop and throw up involved. So the next good thing I want to talk about is that a lot of the patients will make you laugh. You will have a lot of connections with the resident. A lot of times it's very, very cool to hear the stories that they have, because some of them are born in the 1920s, some of them are born in the 30s, the 40s, so they can talk about a lot of the things that they experienced as a kid that we know really nothing about except for textbooks. But you're talking to somebody who literally went through it, and that's really fun to hear about. And some of them will make you laugh. A lot of times you will create a lot of relationships with these people, and some of them will become like grandfathers and grandmothers to you. The next bad thing I want to talk about is that when I started working as a CNA, the first year that I did it, I was pretty much always sick. Probably once a month, I was sick and at my doctor getting medication because I got the flu, or I had another cold, or I had a sinus infection or something, because it's just like going to school again or working in a daycare. Everyone is sick, and it travels so fast when there's 100 to 200 people in the same building all the time. And especially in the wintertime when it's hot in the building, everything spreads so much faster. The next good thing that I have to talk about is that some of the families really do appreciate the CNAs and all the work that we do for their families. At the last nursing home that I worked for, we had a couple of families that when it was their mom or dad's birthday, they would bring in a cake or cupcakes, and some of them would oftentimes bring enough for the CNAs to have because we take care of their family and we are there for their family when they can't be. So that is very nice, especially when we sometimes feel underappreciated. It's really nice when the family does a small little gesture like that. And you will have the families that are always thanking you, and they're always saying that we do a great job and thank you so much for taking care of them. They really love you. If I can say one thing to somebody that has a family member in a nursing home, appreciate the staff, not just the nurses, the CNAs. Appreciate the CNAs and all that they do for your family member while they're in a nursing home, because we are definitely underappreciated. It feels like a lot of times. So a lot of times we deal with patients whose families never come to see them because either they live out of state or they just don't make time to go and see their family. And that's really, really sad, because especially when the patient is asking for their family, they're asking for their daughter or their grandchildren or whatever, and we can't really do anything. We can only be there for them as their family, which again is a really good thing, but it's very sad for us to watch when some of these people get really upset when their family doesn't come in on their birthday or doesn't call them all the time and things like that. And I can only imagine that it can get lonely living with people that you didn't know who they were, and you're not in a home, you're in a facility. You know, it's very sad to see a lot of times. And along with families, there are a lot of nightmare families. So these are the families that are very bossy or judgmental and don't understand that we have 12 patients at a time, and sometimes forget that their family member isn't our only patient. And we wish it was. Trust me, if we could give 1 to 5 residents our undivided attention in an 8-hour span, we could do so much more with these people. We could make sure their fingernails were clipped. We could do their hair on a daily basis. We could just do so much more with them. We could have sit-down talks with them, and it would just be so much better. But a lot of times we can't, because we don't have time, because we're taking care of everybody else's family members as well as yours. So another thing that some family members really did that was very uncomfortable is they would ask you to change their mom or dad or whoever it was to them. They would ask you to change their brief or take them to the bathroom or whatever it may have been, change their pants, whatever, and they would sit there and watch you do it. It's not that it was a bad thing, because we know how to do it correctly. It's just that it's very uncomfortable because they're watching your every move, and it's like somebody watching you brush your teeth. Like, what are you doing? Can I help you? Like, why are you staring at me? I don't know. It's so uncomfortable. And I get why they would want to do it, because they want to make sure everything's being done right. And I totally get it. When you're in the position of the CNA, it's very uncomfortable that somebody's just standing there watching you do these things to their family members. Some of the family members do say, can you do this? Can you do that? Can you please do this? This needs to be done at this time. This has to be done at this time. She needs to lay down now. She needs to be up by a certain time. She needs to do this, that, and the other thing. So again, along with us running around and helping out 12 other people, we also have the families that want their family member taken care of at a specific time and want this done at this time and that done at that time, and they want their hair done every single day, and they want this done and they want that done. And it's just very stressful, especially when anything can happen. Anything can go wrong. Somebody could die on us that morning, and we had to perform postpartum care and get them ready for their family to come in. So we can't say, oh, and it's kind of just a jerk move. You can't say to them, oh, well, somebody died, so I didn't get to take care of your mom. Sorry. Like, we get stuck between a rock and a hard place because we want to take care of your family members, but sometimes things just happen. Sometimes the families don't think that we have all these other residents that we have to take care of as well, and that can be very frustrating. So the next thing I want to talk about that is not always good is that you will lose people that you really connect with. This definitely does really suck, especially when you make connections with a lot of these people and you really do love coming to work and seeing their faces, and you love talking to them and seeing them, and when they pass away, it really does break your heart like it's a family member. The other part to this is that you will see people die in front of you. This is not always fun, especially again if you do have a connection with them, but people will pass away in front of you. Something can happen, and unfortunately people do die, and you will see it. The next thing I want to talk about is that usually the days go by pretty fast. A lot of times when I was working as a CNA, I felt like I would get in at 7 o'clock and breakfast would be out by 8, and then it would be 12 o'clock, it'd be lunchtime, and then it would be time to clock out. A lot of days, they went by so fast because you never stop moving, really, which, I mean, that can be a good thing or a bad thing, but a lot of times the days went by pretty quickly. The next bad thing is that, again, you don't really ever stop moving. When you get in at 7 o'clock in the morning, you are getting your patient list. This is also another bad thing, is that patient list, it's never fun. Never fun. Sometimes you have 8 patients, sometimes you have 12 patients, sometimes you have 14 patients. And a lot of times in nursing homes, we're short-staffed and we're working short. You know when somebody calls out, you're getting half their patients, or you're getting a third of their patients, because it's only you and 2 other people on a floor, and there were supposed to be 4 of you, and now there's only 3 of you, so you're getting the extra load, and you can barely already do the patient list that you would have had if it was all 4 of you. So that really sucks. But again, you never really stop moving. So the next thing I want to talk about that is good is that some nurses are very, very helpful. Some of the nurses will help change briefs. Some of the nurses will help pass out breakfast trays. Some will help get the residents a snack. Some will help with anything that you need if you ask them, especially the nurses that have been CNAs before. Typically, the nurses that have been CNAs before are the best nurses to work for. They understand that you are like killing yourself every day to make sure that everything gets done, because CNAs have so much to do in an 8-hour span of time, and it's really hard to get done a lot of times. Especially, like I just said, when you're short-staffed. So some of the nurses really do anything that they can to help you. And the bad thing with that, though, is that some of the nurses don't really care to help. Some of them are lazy, some of them are rude, and some of them are very disrespectful. Some of the nurses will come out of a room and a patient could have asked them a question or said, hey, can you get me a glass of water, or can you get me a new pair of gripper socks? And the nurse will come out and call a CNA out of another room. When that CNA is performing care on somebody else, they will call them out of that room and say, hey, can you go get them a glass of water when you're done? Can you go get them gripper socks when you're done? And they were just in that room, and they could have done that for you because you are still performing care on patients when you still could have 7 to 10 more to go before you're actually done before lunch. I understand they have to do med passes and things like that too, but especially something that's as simple as, hey, can I have a glass of water, or can you get me an orange juice, or something simple like that is just very upsetting to a CNA who is rushing and trying to do a lot of things when that nurse simply could have done it for you. And it's not that we're asking you to do our jobs for us, it's just that sometimes we need help, and it's very much appreciated when they do help us out. So I am also going to tag this one along with it, but you will get bossed around, especially by nurses. Your nurses a lot of times will tell you what you need to do, and a lot of times it's not a bad thing because you need to know, but especially if you don't like to be told what to do, it's not a good job for you because you will get bossed around a lot. And I definitely had a hard time with this when I first started working as a CNA. I did not really like to be told what to do. It does happen a lot. You do get told, you need to go do this, you need to do this, you need to do this resident now, you need to go do that right now, this needs to be done in 15 minutes. And it's very frustrating, don't get me wrong, but eventually you just kind of learn that that's the job, and you kind of just have to smile and walk away. You will get a lot of constructive criticism. So if you can't take constructive criticism, I would not work as a CNA. A lot of times, whoever is giving you constructive criticism is doing it to help you in the long run, and sometimes it's very frustrating because you feel like, again, you're getting told what to do, but a lot of times they're just trying to help you. And I definitely had an incident like this, but you definitely do learn that they're not trying to be mean, they're not trying to be a jerk about it. They're just trying to help you and make your job easier in the long run. So that's definitely something that I would say you really need to be good at, is receiving constructive criticism, because you will get a lot of it. So the next good thing I'm going to talk about is that per diem is an option in the health field. So per diem is when you can pick up work basically whenever you can work. So at my last nursing home, they would send us a text message and say, hey, we need somebody Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, first shift and second shift. What days can you work? And basically you can make your schedule with per diem, which is amazing. And the other thing that I'm going to put along with this one is that there is shift differentials at most places. I'll just use what we made at my last nursing home. We would make $14 as a flat rate for first shift. And then if you worked second shift, you would make $15. If you worked third shift, you would also make $15, but you still got an extra dollar from first shift. If you worked on the weekends, you'd get $1 on top of that. So if you worked the weekends first shift, it would be $14 plus $1 because it was a weekend. If you worked the weekend second shift, it would be $14 plus $1 because it was second shift, plus $1 because it was the weekend. So it'd be $16. And then same for third shift. So that was really good because you have the potential to make a lot of money if you don't care when you work. So that is really nice. And you have the potential to make a lot of money in this because typically if you get frozen in, which is another thing that kind of sucks, but I'll talk about that later, is if you get frozen in, you can make a lot of money. So typically when you get frozen in, you make time and a half. And if it's a holiday, or if they can't find anybody to stay, or if you've already stayed recently, typically a lot of places will give you a bonus for staying on top of already making time and a half. So there is a potential to make a lot of money if you are willing to work a lot of hours, or if you're willing to work on a short notice. The next bad thing is that CNAs don't make enough money for all that we do. The last place that I worked at was getting a lot better because they were giving us raises and things. CNAs don't make enough money for all the things that they do. And you do get frozen in, especially if the place that you work at doesn't have enough staff. You will get frozen in a lot. That really sucks, especially when it can be once a week and you're not planning on it. If you work a 7 to 3, you could potentially have to stay until 7 p.m., so a 12-hour shift, which really isn't that bad, but especially if you're not expecting it, it can really suck. So if you have plans that night and the supervisor comes up to you and says you have to stay till 7, you're being frozen in, it really sucks because, well, those plans just got thrown out the stinking window because you have to stay. Another bad thing that I want to talk about is the large residents. So especially with the patients that are immobile and can't do anything for themselves, or they are incoherent, nothing's going on up there. A lot of times these people get large because they don't move. They don't walk, or they don't do anything. They just lay in bed, sleep, sit in a wheelchair, and eat. So when these people weigh, 200, 300, 400 pounds, which yes, 400 pounds, some people, and you have to roll them. Okay, I weigh 110 pounds, 115 on a good day. How do you expect me to roll a 300-pound person by myself? And yes, sometimes we're supposed to have 2 people roll, even though it's not the way it's supposed to be done. A lot of times you can't find anybody. You can't get anybody to come in and help you because they have their own crap to do. They have their own residents to take care of. They can't stop and help you. And so you need to roll these 300-400 pound people by yourself, and that's hard, especially for somebody who's 110 pounds. You do get used to it though. You do build a lot of muscle and you do get a lot stronger working every day doing this, because I noticed there was a period of time where I didn't work for a while. I didn't work for like 3 weeks, and then I started working again. I noticed rolling an average size person, I was like, holy crap, this person weighs so much. And they really didn't, because I used to roll 300-pound people perfectly fine. But you learn techniques that make rolling these people a lot easier. But the heavy people are very hard to deal with because you gotta get under all the rolls and you gotta make sure everything's cleaned out everywhere. They are more receptive to bed sores and things like that because they're in bed a lot and they don't get to move around as much. and if they're not in bed, they're still on their butt in a wheelchair, or they're on their back in a wheelchair because you can tilt the wheelchairs back. So they are more receptive to bed sores. So a lot of times you definitely have to make sure they're rolled every 2 hours, or moved, or up in their wheelchair, down in bed, up in their wheelchair, down in bed, things like that. So that can be hard as well. And the last thing I want to talk about today is another bad thing, is annoying residents. Yes, along with the residents that we learn to love, we do have residents that we highly dislike and are very annoying. That is usually the fighters, or the bell holders, the light bell holders, or the residents that are frankly inappropriate or mean. We do get a lot of residents, the elderly male residents, and a lot of them do not know what they're saying. So you learn to not take it to heart. You learn to just kind of laugh it off, because a lot of them have Alzheimer's, dementia, and they don't realize that they're talking to a 20-year-old girl or a 25-year-old person, you know, who should not be having this said to them. But a lot of the elderly males can be inappropriate. And we have the fighters who will kick and scratch and spit and bite and punch and slap and hit and everything. Anything under the moon that they can do to get you away from them, they will do. And a lot of them are not coherent. A lot of them don't know what they're doing. But that is very frustrating, especially when you're trying to get them dressed. And especially if they have a family who's like, they need to be up at this certain time. On top of them being a fighter, it can be just very stressful. So yeah, you do have fighters, and you do have the potential to get hurt from them. I mean, they're old people. They are strong, and they can hit. Holy crap. And then you have the bell pressers, or the bell holders, light holders, whatever you want to call them, the ones that every 20 minutes hit the bell. You go in, you ask them what they need. Oh, can you reach over and get me the TV remote? Oh, can you give me a glass of water? Oh, I didn't hit the bell, when you know they did, because it was just on 5 minutes ago. And then after you leave the room, it goes back on, and then you go back in and they say they didn't hit the bell again. Can you lift me in bed? Yes. 5 minutes later. Can you lift me again? Yes. 5 minutes later. Can you lift me again? It's just very stressful, especially when the bell keeps going off, and then the nurses are getting upset because the bell's on, but you're wiping Joe Schmo's butt, and then Mary's peeing herself, and she's gotta go to the bathroom, and then, you know, Mary Jane's family is over there yelling because she's gotta eat, or she's hungry or something, and then you got 7 bells going off, and it's just, ugh. So overall, I definitely had a love-hate relationship with being a CNA. It was definitely something that was very nice, because I got it in high school, and it is a job that is a career for many people, or a stepping stone for some people. So it was very good to get that experience, and I did love the residents that were very nice, and I loved my work family. I don't know if any of them are watching this, but shout out to you guys. You know who you are. I do love all of you, and I do miss working with you guys. But you definitely do have those days where you do not want to go into work, or you come home and you're like, I can't go back. I can't. I'm gonna lose my mind. Or you wake up, your alarm's going off, and you're like, how bad do I really need this job? Because I don't want to do it again. I don't want to deal with these people. But you do form some really, really good relationships with work people, and with the families, and with the residents. And if you want to become a CNA, I would definitely look into it, or talk to a CNA, or see if you can volunteer at a nursing home and see what it's truly like first before you do it. Alright guys, I think that's it for today's video. Make sure to go ahead and leave this video a thumbs up if you liked it. I know I have been doing a lot of sit down videos lately. I am going to try to start doing some vlog style videos so that we can switch it up a little bit, so I'm not always just sitting in front of the camera and talking to you guys. I know it can get kind of repetitive and boring, so I do apologize. If you have any video suggestions or questions, please comment them down below. I will answer every single one of you. And please go ahead and subscribe to me. Shout out to all my new subscribers. I love each and every one of you, and I want to thank all of my returning subscribers for supporting me. I love each and every one of you guys as well, and I will see you on Wednesday's video. Are you kidding me? Okay. Splattered with poop. If you are thinking about becoming a CNA, well, good luck, Charlie.